What's up, fight fans? Welcome to my channel. This is Johnny, and in today's video we're going to be going over the statistics that nobody talks about when mentioning this weekend's world title fight at 140 pounds between the IBF champion Hitchens and the Aussie challenger George Kambosos Jr. Guys, before I continue, I want to say thank you to all the new subscribers. Thank you to everybody who's been with me since day one. If you haven't already, could you please remember to hit subscribe? Also, like this video, and right now, go down to the bottom of your screen, find that bell notification button, click that so you never miss one of my videos. All right, guys, this week is another week full of boxing. I'll admit, not a lot of names that pop off the paper, but this one in New York is a world title fight. We've already taken a trip to Africa to talk a little bit about the Brandon Glanton fight. We know we're going to see the return of two guys who recently retired, but they're back. Nonito Donaire is fighting in Argentina, and you have Juan Francisco Estrada El Gallo fighting in Mexico. There's a couple other fight cards, but in this video, we're focusing on the Garden, New York City, the main event between IBF champion Hitchens and the Aussie former world champion at 135, George Kambosos Jr. So in this video, I'm going to be going over both guys' careers. We're going to talk a little bit about how each guy goes about their business, what they've been up to regarding their resumes. Also, stay tuned to the end of the video. That's where I'll be going over the Las Vegas odds. I'll also be giving you my prediction and telling you where to put your money. This is a fight between one world champion and a guy who wants to become a world champion in another weight class. You know me well enough to know, if you've been on my channel, I have nothing but the utmost respect for George Kambosos Jr., what he's done in his career, what he's meant internationally for Australian boxing. I also got to give props to his father, Jim Kambosos. If you were to ask me what fighter in this era has had their career managed almost to perfection regarding world title fights, big money fights, and creating a long legacy in regards to the nation they fight from, you'd be hard-pressed to find a guy above George Kambosos Jr. To remind everybody, guys, that one punch, that fight in which he won a split decision, in which he was a huge underdog, the Teofimo Lopez fight, that propelled him to stadium and arena fights here in Australia. I always have to mention it. He fought Devin twice, once at the Kudos Bank Arena, once at the Ron Laver Stadium in Melbourne, and then he fought Lomachenko in Perth at the RAC Arena. Did he win those fights? No. Did he boost his stock and his legacy through losses? Yes. And guys, not a lot of boxers could say that. And in an era where a lot of fighters protect their O, George Kambosos Jr. is the X factor, telling fighters that you don't have to protect the O to get big money fights. Also, the thing George does really well outside of the ring, he can sell a fight. He's very marketable, and this fight is exactly that. He once again gets an opportunity to become a world champion in a new weight class by taking on the current world champion Hitchens, a guy who won his title by defeating another Aussie, Liam Perro, in a close fight down in Puerto Rico. He won a split decision. If you guys want to revisit that fight, some of the scorecards were crazy. One of the judges gave Perro the fight 117 to 111, and the other two, in my opinion, got it right. I thought Hitchens fought a really smart fight, a really good fight, and that's why he's a world champion. Hitchens is a guy that does a lot of things really well. Has a nice amateur background, had a lot of hype about him entering the pros. He's undefeated, 19-07 knockouts, doesn't have one-punch power. He's going to be bigger, he's going to be stronger, he uses his jab really well, and the narrative of this fight, in my opinion, is will George be able to get past that jab and score points and win rounds? We also know about George, he doesn't have one-punch knockout power. He makes things interesting a lot. He wants to get into a dogfight. He'll take some damage to give some damage. Right now, I want to take a closer look at George and see what he's been up to in his career. Guys, Kambosos is 22-3 with 10 knockouts. Out of 2,740 fighters in the world ranked at 140, he's ranked number 30. He has a career total 189 pro rounds fought, carries into the ring a 45% career knockout to win ratio. His adoring fans know him as Ferocious, and the 31-year-old Aussie is a 5'9" orthodox fighter with a 68-inch reach. We last saw him fight Jake Wiley, 16-1, UD in the 12th. Loma, 17-3. He got stopped in the 11th. Maxie Hughes, 26-5, won a majority decision in the 12th. Haney the second time, 28-0, UD in the 12th. Haney the first time, 27-0, UD in the 12th. And before the Haney double fights, he beat Teofimo Lopez by split decision. And guys, George Kambosos is a guy, when you look at his resume before the Teofimo Lopez fight, He had won split decision after split decision. Some of those fights were against Lee Selby, and another one of those fights was against Mickey Bay. Both fights were really close. Some people even say he lost the Teofimo Lopez fight. I'm not one of those guys. I think he won that fight. And then the Maxie Hughes fight is also controversial. So Kambosos has a record, only 3 total losses. There is some controversy to some of those decisions, but he's not a judge. He does exactly what he's supposed to do in there every time he fights, and George Kambosos Jr. is a fighter. Game plan is definitely going to have to be start off quick. He's going to want to have to take the center of the ring, want to have to score points, bank a lot of those early rounds, and get past that Richardson Hitchens jab. In a little bit, we'll be going over that reach disadvantage he has, and that's going to be an uphill battle for him. He's definitely going to have to answer some questions in order to get on the inside against Hitchens. So right now, let's take a look at the IBF champ. Guys, Hitchens is 19-0 with 7 knockouts out of 2,740 fighters at 140 pounds. He's ranked number 4. He is the IBF world champion. He's fought a career total of 130 pro rounds and carries into the ring a 37% career knockout to win ratio. The 27-year-old American's a 5'10" orthodox fighter with a 74-inch reach. He was born in Brooklyn, New York, and resides in Manhattan, New York, USA. We last saw him fight Liam Paro, 25-0, won a split in the 12th. Lemos, 29-0, UD in the 12th. Zepeda, 37-3, UD in the 12th. John Bowser, 17-0, UD in the 10th. So Richardson Hitchens actually has a lower knockout to win ratio than George Kambosos. What does this mean? That doesn't necessarily mean he doesn't have power. He's just one of these guys that doesn't have one-punch knockout power, and he's comfortable with winning rounds, scoring points, and winning on the cards. Hitchens is the taller guy. He's a younger guy. When I look at both men side by side, one of the statistics regarding the narrative of this fight that jumps off the paper for me is that reach advantage. 74 inches versus 68 inches in favor of Hitchens. You mix that with his style. Jab heavy, nice sharp jab. It's quick. He throws a couple versions of his jab. Some guys just throw one angle. He'll level change and throw it at different angles, confuse his opponent. And we know George likes to fight off of that front foot. And as of late, Hitchens fights off of his back foot. So I think that jab is going to be a pretty good telling part of who wins this fight. For George, I think his game plan is going to be simple. He's going to want to have to get on the inside, cut the distance, not fight Hitchens at his range. Has to get past the jab, work Hitchens' body, and score on points. And if he can, land those hooks over the top in the clinch. It's a lot easier said from my position than done from George's position. With Hitchens, taller fighter, younger fighter, longer reach, better jab. I think he's going to be the more physical guy. With Hitchens, though, you really don't know yet, in my opinion, even though he is a champion, what version you're going to get. The Lemos version or the Liam Paro version, in my opinion, was a better version. Also, guys, I want to remind you before we continue, the champions at 140, when we're talking about Richardson Hitchens, how would we rank him compared to Alberto Puello, Gary Antoine Russell, and Teofimo Lopez? I only reference that is because you got to ask yourself, this is for a world title. Even though he's a world champion, can he hold up to those other guys? I'm not quite sure. At 27, he has an opportunity against George to look really good in his hometown. So before we get to my prediction, I want to let everybody know this will be my money line prediction. If you want my method of victory, odds, the knockout, or decision prop bets, you have to stay tuned to my live streams. If you're new to my channel, I go live every single day. So right now, let's take a look at the money line. So right now on the money line, Hitchens is a $1.10 favorite, meaning 100 on him just to win. You get your money back plus $10. The draw is 20-1. George is an $8.25 on the money line, meaning 100 on George gets you your money back plus 725 bucks. George is a 7-1 underdog going into this fight. Can George win? I think George can win. I think he can spring an upset. He has to do a lot of things really well for him to win. His path of victory is a steeper climb than Richardson Hitchens. This is no knock on George. I'm a fan of George Kambosos. I've been watching his entire career, like I said. Of all the current Aussie fighters, I think he's done more so far with his career to put Aussie boxing on the international map than any other current Aussie boxer. Does he get the flowers he deserves domestically here in Australia? I don't think so. So I tip my cap to him. I tip my cap to his father. But in terms of my prediction, I have to listen to my father when he told me, Johnny, always bet with your wallet, never bet with your heart. This weekend in New York, I am rooting for George Kambosos to become a world champion at 140, but I'm not betting on him. I do this channel to be as unbiased as possible, and a lot of you guys look at me for my opinion, expert at that. I'm putting my money on Richardson Hitchens. I think he's going to be too much. I think his young energy, even though he's 27, George is 31. George has been in more wars. It's a newer weight class, even though George fought at 140 against Jake Wiley. In my opinion, he didn't look that good. I expect Richardson Hitchens' jab to be on point. I expect to see a better version of him than we saw against Pero, and I do expect with his skill set, with his potential, with the championship rub he has now, I think we're going to see him level up. And like always, I always say on my channel, this is not an echo chamber. Maybe you guys see something I don't see. At the end of the fight, are we going to hear announcer say, and still for Hitchens or and new for George? Also, guys, if you haven't seen my breakdown, analysis, and prediction of the co-main on this card between Andy Cruz and Hironori Mishiro, stay tuned to the channel because that's coming up right now. What's up, fight fans? Welcome to my channel. This is Johnny, and in today's video, we're going to be going over the statistics that nobody talks about when mentioning this weekend's fight at 135 pounds in New York City between the Cuban Andy Cruz and the Japanese fighter Hironori Mishiro. Guys, before I continue, I want to say thank you to all the new subscribers. Thank you to everybody who's been with me since day one. If you haven't already, could you please remember to hit subscribe? Could you also like this video? And right now, go down to the bottom of your screen and hit the bell notification button so you never miss a video. Let's get into this. All right, guys, we have another busy week in boxing. I say this every week. There's fight cards in Argentina. There's fight cards in Mexico. There's fight cards in Africa. But in today's feature, we're going to New York City and talk about the co-main. Andy Cruz taking on the Japanese fighter Hironori Mishiro. Guys, this has a lot of fight fans excited. We know the main event is Richardson Hitchens versus George Kambosos Jr. for the 140-pound strap. So in this video, we're going to be going over both fighters, Cruz and Mishiro. We're going to talk about their careers, talk a little bit about what they've been up to, and stay tuned to the end of the video. That's where I'll be going over the current Las Vegas odds, and I'll be giving you my prediction. All right, guys, the Japanese fighter Mishiro is a 5'9" orthodox fighter. He has 1 loss and 1 draw on his resume. All of his fights have come against, we'll say, domestic level Japanese fighters. This will be, without a doubt, his biggest step up. You could look at the rankings if you want to. Sometimes stats do lie. When you're looking at that BoxRec algorithm, you'll see that Mishiro is ranked higher than his opponent, the Diamond Andy Cruz. But guys, in my opinion, there's a few different narratives at play when we hear Andy Cruz is fighting. The first one I have to mention, Loma has retired. Morataya has been elevated to the 135-pound titleist. So you have to think, with an exciting performance, either way, the winner should propel themselves into a world title fight. Andy Cruz also, when you talk about him, storied amateur background, Olympian. Look what he did. It's been well documented. Every time he fought Keyshawn Davis, 135-pound champion, he beat him in the amateurs. We know you can't do boxing mats. That was years ago. We also know what we recently saw with Keyshawn, because I should correct myself, he's not the champ anymore. He got stripped due to his weight miss this past weekend in Virginia. Let's keep this positive. With Andy Cruz, you should also talk about, in my opinion, the work he's been doing since he moved to Philly with famed trainer Bozy Ennis, the father of Jerron Boots Ennis. Look at his most recent performance. You're seeing a Cuban-style fighter who still has all the toolbox, the movement patterns, the defense, the high fight IQ, but Bozy is teaching him to punch a little bit harder, sit down on your punches a little bit more, and in my opinion, he's looking for the stoppages a little bit more. So right now, I do want to remind everybody what's at stake this weekend at the Garden. Guys, Cuban Olympic gold medalist Andy Cruz is inching closer toward proving his amateur accolades can translate to the pro ranks. Cruz will take on Hironori Mishiro in an IBF lightweight title eliminator June 14th at the Garden in New York. Matchroom Boxing will be promoting this fight. It will be the co-headliner, like I already told you, of Hitchens versus George. And I quote, "I put in the hard work and dedication, and I can't wait to step into the ring again," Cruz said in a statement. "This fight isn't just about winning. It's about showing my people the passion I have for the sport. I'm ready to prove that I'm a contender and bring that win home." Cruz is ranked number 3 by the IBF, and Mishiro is number 5. Cruz is rated number 6 by the ring at 135 pounds. Cruz, 29, continues to dispose of the competition that's put in front of him as he calls for a clash against amateur rival and former WBO lightweight champion Keyshawn Davis. In January, Cruz landed a 10-round unanimous decision against Omar Sasido Gomez. Mishiro, a 30-year-old from Japan, scored a stoppage win against Hinato Murata in December, his 5th win in a row since the one loss of his career technical decision to Minho Jung in April of 2023. Andy Cruz's star and stock is rising rapidly. Right now, I do want to take a closer look at his opponent, the Japanese fighter Hironori Mishiro. Guys, Mishiro is 17-1-1 with 6 knockouts out of 2,566 fighters in the world at 135 pounds. He's ranked number 14. He's fought a total career 146 pro rounds and carries into the ring a 35% career knockout to win ratio. The Japanese fighter is a 30-year-old orthodox fighter standing at 5'9". He was born in Matsushiman, Japan and resides in Yokohama, Kanagawa, Japan. We last saw him fight Murata 14-2, stopped him in the 6th. Miyamoto 10-8, stopped him in the 6th. Nakazato 14-2, UD in the 10th. Urakawa 9-1, UD in the 8th. Sheng 8-0, UD in the 8th. So like I started this video, without a doubt, Hironori Mishiro is stepping up to the largest platform he has ever fought. We're going to see if the lights are going to be too much for him. He's leaving Japan to go to New York City. We know sometimes when the stages are elevated and the competition rises, we don't always see the best form of said fighter. What I can say about Japanese fighters at the world level, they're always going to come in prepared. Will he be skilled enough, though, to win rounds and steal one from Andy Cruz? I'm not quite convinced. Let's right now take a look at the Cuban gold medal Olympian, Andy Cruz. Guys, Cruz is 5-0 with 2 knockouts out of 2,566 fighters in the world at 135 pounds. He's ranked number 24 globally. He's fought a total career of 40 pro rounds, and the 29-year-old Cuban is a 5'9" orthodox fighter. He was born in Manzanas, Cuba, and lives in Miami, Florida, USA. We last saw him fight Gomez 20-1, UD in the 10th. Moran 30-6, knocked him out in the 7th. Rodriguez 14-2, UD in the 10th. Straffin 26-5, knockout in the 3rd. So over his last 4 fights, he only has 5 fights with 2 knockouts, but over his last 4, he stopped 2 of those 4. I think that's enough evidence to prove my narrative of liking what I see in regards to him adding some power to his tool belt, learning from Bozy in Philly. I fully expect as he prolongs his career and continues to step up, and eventually, sooner rather than later, we know this guy has been fast-tracked to a world title shot. I think we're going to see that with another electrifying performance Saturday in his next fight. I think we're going to see Cruz start to finish guys. He has the volume, he has the pressure, he has the elusiveness, and he also has the speed. I think when you look at these guys side by side, there's not a lot I could give to Mishiro. Watch his film study, watch his tape. Maybe you guys see something I don't see. I think Andy Cruz is going to be able to go in there and do what he wants with Mishiro. I think that this is a showcase fight for Andy Cruz and gives him a great opportunity to look great against a decent fighter. I'm not quite sure Mishiro is world class. 17-1-1. We haven't really seen him on the international level. This is his first 12-round fight. A lot of these questions will be answered on both sides. Right now, I do want to take a closer look where Las Vegas has those odds. And guys, if you're new to my channel, stay tuned to the channel. I go live every single day talking about the fights that I cover. In the videos, the ones that are edited, I only give you my money line prediction. So in those live streams, I tell you my method of victory, over and under round betting, knockout stoppage victory, and we go over all the props from all the cards taking place in this week of boxing. All right, guys, so in Australia, the betting app I use is Sportsbet. So wherever you are, let's pull our betting apps up right now and take a look at those money lines. All right, guys, currently Andy Cruz is a $1.09 favorite, meaning you put $100 on Cruz to win. You get your money back plus $9. The draw pays 20-1. Mishiro, the Japanese fighter, is a $9.25, meaning you put 100 on him. You get your money back plus $8.25. So Hironori Mishiro is an 8-1, a little over an 8-1 underdog. I actually think as we get closer to fight night, I expect those odds to actually increase. So if you like the $1.09 on the money line, you probably should take it now if you want to play a safe bet and just pick Cruz to win. That's exactly what I'm picking. I expect Andy Cruz to improve his record to 6-0. I don't think he has trouble with his opponent. It's hard for me to see a path to victory for the Japanese fighter. It's going to be interesting, though, when the odds open up to see if I could get an opportunity to take a stoppage. But you guys will have to stay tuned to the channel. In the comment section below, this is not an echo chamber. Maybe you guys know something that I don't know. Do you see the Japanese fighter traveling to the States and beating Cruz? Or do you think it's business as usual for the Cuban? And guys, stay tuned to the channel, like I said, for the live streams. Hit subscribe. And if you're still watching right now, I say, wow, thank you.